Hey everyone, in this video we're going to talk about additional approaches to ethics that have come since the advent of utilitarianism and deontology. Mainly, we're going to take a look at various versions of what are called existentialism. Let's get into it. Alright, so Sartre starts this piece off, existentialism is a humanism, by saying, my purpose here is to offer a defense of existentialism against the several reproaches that have been laid against it. And he talks about various approaches, the phenomenological approach, and so on. Basically, he says this: there's two kinds of being. There's the en soi approach, where you're just an object, and there's the pour soi approach, where you're an object who wants to be a subject. And so, like, an en soi is something like a rock or a tree, something that just is there. They're there, they do what they're supposed to do, but pour soi wants to be something more than what it is. A pour soi kind of being wants to be something, wants to do something, wants to enact something. And that's what makes human beings different. We're not just there in nature, we want to do stuff. What kind of stuff? Stuff where we exercise our kind of being. And therefore, that can lead to a kind of what he calls mauvaise foi. Mauvaise foi, or what he calls bad faith, is where we're like, no, I know I'm a kind of being where I get to express myself and do whatever I want to do, but I go, no, I'm not going to do that. And human existence is that tension, where we go, we're here, we're just stuck here in the world. As Heidegger, one of Sartre's predecessors, said, we're thrown into the world. Yeah, we find ourselves here in the world. What are we going to do? And we can do whatever we want, is what Sartre says. We can do whatever we want to do, but when we get that feeling where we go, yeah, I can't really do that. I don't want to mess with anything. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. That is what he calls mauvaise foi, bad faith. Bad faith is going, we can do whatever we want to do, but I'm not going to do that because I don't want to ruffle any feathers. No. Sartre wants you to express yourself completely as a human being. Now, Sartre found himself in a relationship with Simone de Beauvoir, another French thinker who is a resolute thinker in her own right, in many ways equivalent, if not superior to Jean-Paul Sartre. And Simone de Beauvoir, for example, in her book Le Deuxième Sexe, or The Second Sex, says this: one is not born, but rather becomes woman. What does this mean? Well, it means that it's a continuation of the existentialist thought, just put in a feminist context. In existentialism, which is the idea that what we do makes us who we are, and that's great, de Beauvoir says in a feminist particular kind of context, woman throughout centuries has been relegated to being some kind of other, some kind of thing, some kind of thing that does stuff, and namely cleans, makes children, and so forth. And Beauvoir wants to say that no, the feminine existence is itself some particular kind of thing, some particular kind of existence. Woman is what it is and not something else. Woman is not just a receptacle for the propagation of offspring. Femininity is a particular kind of existence. That's why she says one is not born a woman, but one becomes a woman. Someone in a feminine particularity becomes who they are. Womanness is not a thing that someone just does. It's a kind of being. And that's not reducible to the whole cooking, cleaning, reproducing offspring. It's something above and beyond that. And that's what Simone de Beauvoir wants to get at. Because in the history of philosophy, sometimes women have been relegated to roles of subjection and subversion, and they're just there to kind of do stuff. Even Aristotle, in all his wisdom, said women are just something else. They're like second-tier citizens. And that's happened throughout much of Western history. Women are just, they're not all there. And de Beauvoir wants to say, no, We're here, we're completely here, and we have something else to contribute, and it's not just what you think, it's something else. There's a specific dimension to being a woman, and it's something else than simply the masculine existence. And so de Beauvoir wants to explore the notions of that kind of existence, and so there might be even a kind of different ethics that's experienceable there. And then we can think of another French thinker, Albert Camus. Camus wants to engage with the question with Sartre and de Beauvoir, what is it that makes us happy? What is a happy existence? What does it mean when we find ourselves in a situation where happiness is up to us? Where we get to determine what it is that we do, and we get to determine what it is that makes us happy. And in his Myth of Sisyphus, he goes into a deep dive into what it is that makes us happy. There's, of course, fleeting happiness, the little things that make us happy here and there, the things that, oh, this little thing I did makes us happy, the obvious sexual experience makes us happy, all those things he goes into. But he nevertheless finds that this universe, the world that we're in, is absurd. It's ridiculous. We might find ourselves out on a date and find ourselves in a situation where if we stop and think about it, when we're on a date, we might be eating chunks of cow flesh and chunks of plant matter, steaks and salads, where the ultimate goal of the encounter is to engage in sexual relationship with one another. But here we are. I ate my cow chunks, you ate your leaf chunks, and because we did this thing, and because of our familiarity, we get into a situation where we engage in sexual congruence. That here we are, the third planet from the sun, and we're worried about various kinds of protein, various kinds of intake, and various kinds of sexual reproduction. But that's what we do. And Camus wants to say, if you stop and think about it, it's ridiculous. And it is. And all kinds of human interaction and human engagement is ridiculous. It is. Why do we do it? We just do. But why? And Camus wants to say, because it's absurd. And Camus wants to say, in the modern time period, that absurdity, we do what we do. It's like the ancient Greek myth of Sisyphus. Sisyphus was a Greek deity who his punishment for what he did was to roll up a ball of earth up a hill over and over again. When he reached the top, all of a sudden when he was at the top, he was at the bottom again. Constantly rolling. Eternal punishment. The same thing over and over again. And that's what it's like for humanity. We do the same thing over and over and over and over again. And what he wants to say is that the human condition ought to be one we do so gladly. We do the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, but we do so gladly, happily. We must imagine Sisyphus happy. And that is the lesson for human ethics. Whatever we do, whatever we're going to do, could you do it again? Ethics should be that which we do without regret. We do something, if you regret it, I had to do the right thing, I had to do the thing I had to do, but I wish I had done something otherwise. No. Ethics ought to be that which where we say, we did it, and I do it again. And that is the lesson of Camus.